Brave Girls Bible Stories. This is Mala, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah, the 5 fearless sisters from Numbers 27. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 20. Pray that when I preach the good news, I will speak without fear as I should. Something interesting happened today at school. Gracie, one of my new friends from youth group, got her history paper back, and she looked upset. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that her teacher had counted off several points on her paper because she had talked too much about God in it. Gracie had written about how many of the men who founded America were Christians, but her teacher didn't agree. I started to get mad at her teacher, but then I thought about this short but cool Bible story about Zelophehad's daughters and how they handled things when justice wasn't being served. It gave me an idea how I could help Gracie and honor God too. Have your parents ever promised to take you someplace really special like the beach or Disney World? Didn't it feel like forever for that day to arrive? I imagine that times a million must have been how the Israelites felt when they finally got to go to the land God promised them. They followed Moses out of Egypt, but because of their disobedience, they wandered in the desert for 40 years. The people had been preparing to go into the promised land, and the time had finally come to divide up the land. But one family had a problem. Zelophehad was a man with 5 daughters and no sons, and he died in the wilderness before the Israelites reached the promised land. The rule was that when a father died, his money and land went to his sons, but because Zelophehad had no sons, the rulers ignored Zelophehad's daughters. It was like waiting in a long line for your turn to ride the best roller coaster only to be pushed aside so someone else could ride instead. It wasn't fair. So Mala, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah, the 5 sisters, got brave. They marched in front of what might have been thousands of people camped around the tent where the elders assigned land. They walked up to the men in charge, including Moses, and explained, "Our father's name will die out because he had no sons." Then they asked, "Give us land among our father's relatives." Now, back then, women weren't normally allowed to just ask for rights. But Moses had listened to them and asked the Lord for his opinion, and God agreed that the women deserved the land. God is fair like that. Because these 5 spoke up for what is right, the Israelites changed the rules to make sure daughters could claim their father's inheritance whenever the same type of situation happened again. Honor says, in a lot of cases, I think we have to work on being quieter because our mouths can get us into trouble. Well, at least mine does. But sometimes we actually need to speak up, like when we see someone being treated unfairly or hurt. Back to Gracie's problem, I did a little research in some history books to find proof that what she had said about America's founding fathers was true. Then I made copies and walked with her to talk to her teacher about it after school. You know what? The teacher listened. She said she had never read that perspective before, and she gave Gracie her points back. It might be hard to do, but we honor God when we speak up for the truth. Is there a situation in your life where you need God's help to be brave like Zelophehad's daughters and to take a stand for what is right? Jesus, help me know when it's time to speak up for what's right and to do it in love. Amen.